What's up, everybody? Hello, welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Alan Halas. I'm a music writer.
And I am Jim Love, and I'm a keynote and motivational speaker.
And we are at episode 54.
We did not discuss that before. I'm glad you remembered because I didn't.
I saved it. I had to save the file before.
Good.
Episode 54 of the Hustling Sideways podcast.
So pumped to be here. And you know what's been funny is on Facebook Memories, like us posting about this when we first started, like episode 2 was posted 2 years ago today.
Oh, really?
And it was your interview that I interviewed you on.
Right.
Yeah, we've come a long way since then. We've had some
we
good
stopped
people.
interviewing each
We
other.
stopped interviewing each other. We started seeing other people is the moral of the story. But we have so much to do today. We're so excited. First and foremost, we got to acknowledge our Marquette Golden Eagles.
I knew you weren't going to let this slide.
I mean, you have to. Marching right into March Madness.
Yep.
And a 2 seed playing in Columbus, Ohio this Friday. And I am so hopeful that by the time this podcast comes out that we are still playing. But it's been a joy and honor. Shaka Smart is just
They need to show up with a Brinks truck and a blank check over to Shaka Smart's house and honestly just be like, "What's your number?"
I've already volunteered to donate specifically to his fund. But I mean, in all seriousness, like, you know how much I love leadership and authentic leadership and servant leadership. And this dude just exhibits that to the T. The whole team loves each other. It's just so fun to watch. And like, I almost get emotional talking about it because of how much time we put in this.
It's a basketball game. It's a basketball game.
No, listen here, buddy. It's not just a basketball game.
I'm an alum, but still, I'm an alum too. But still, it's a game.
It'll be awesome. I know you got to calm me down, but I will be there. We're excited, and it's
Jim's
gonna be a lot of fun.
It here.
And you know what? It's fun to be the only Wisconsin team who, the other one, which may not be named. Unfortunately, didn't really get an invite this time around, so you hate to see it. It's
weird to see how that works. Looks like that bubble burst. Anyway,
there it is.
Anyway, we have a great guest today.
We do
as well. You know, I can tell basketball enthusiast as well. He is also the owner of Foureva Media,
yes,
as well as a number of other things. Jim,
author, speaker, podcast host. That sounds familiar to me.
Yeah.
We have Jamar Jones joining us on podcast. Jamar, welcome to Hustling.
Oh, man, what an intro! What an intro! I love the like common conversation and going into introducing somebody. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely
beautiful. And by the way, we don't have a clap track here, so we just clap just organically, and it's great. That's
we always say that, and we could always add them in post,
but we don't, and it's 10 times better not to.
Lazy editing my behalf.
That's right. Jamar, you are in New Berlin, Wisconsin. So a lot of Wisconsin folks join this pod for a reason, because we just love our Wisconsinites, and we're so excited to have you. So, Jamar, tell us a little bit about you, your background, where you're from, and just sort of maybe your journey up to where you've gotten now.
Yeah, I had a crazy journey. I mean, it's still a crazy journey. Every single day is different. How I got here was definitely non-traditional. So kind of the stages or phases in my life was I was a hip hop artist for 11 years of my life. I traveled all around, opened up for Snoop Dogg, Keisha Cole, T.I., Common, Bone Thugs and Harmony. List goes on and on. At my peak, I was doing about 100 shows a year. I did all the bookings, all the promotions. I had a whole squad with me, MC, DJ, production crew, video, and it was amazing. It was amazing. It was everything in my life, everything I wanted to do. At the same time, I was also worked my way up in an IT role. So I was actually an IT manager at the end of it. At that stint, I did that for about 8 years. So as I was performing and working in IT, I actually tore my vocal cords. I was doing way too much and did not take care of my voice. So for every musician out there, anybody that's doing music, I always say, take care of your number one asset, which is your voice. Or if you're playing guitar, take care of your fingers.
Yeah.
You got to take care of this stuff, because when you're rocking out, you don't think of that stuff. So I was performing at University of Minnesota, tore my vocal cords. I remember spitting up blood.
Oh my gosh.
On the side of the stage. And then I kept performing. I had my guy there with me. I kind of just lip sung the rest of it in a way. And then that was really the end of the music, because I still had a bunch of shows to do, but I kind of just gritted through. I didn't know what it was until I saw a throat specialist. And then, even till this day, I have kind of that tear. I have inflamed lymph nodes.
Wow.
So when I kind of overdo it, my voice would get scratchy. I'll be sounding like young Jeezy.
Yes.
Well, do you feel
so-
like is it? I mean, because I'm like tearing something. Like I'm in my head I have like an ACL or an MCL or something like that. Like do you feel that moment? Like does it really hurt
Yeah.
when it happens?
I was
Like,
gonna say I'm gonna go ahead and say yes.
I just like oh my gosh, like how?
Oh, you definitely feel it. It's not a good feeling
Oh, man.
whatsoever. It almost just feels like it basically my throat, like it just overextended, so
Oh,
it
gosh.
just pulled, and you almost feel like it's not a tear, it's just like something being stretched.
Yeah. Either way,
And
just
it just
Gives me the
awful.
heebie-jeebies.
super
Yeah.
painful. And so I was depressed for about 2.5 years of my life. So still working in IT, had to rediscover myself, really, had to figure out what I wanted to do. And then as I was working in IT, 45 people lost their job because of layoffs.
Mhm.
And so that's actually when I started Foureva Media. So I've been doing that for almost close to a decade now. It's almost 8 years.
Wow.
And so I just started a business, anything I was kind of good at.
Yeah.
I had like 25 different services. And then the photo and the video stuff kind of just took off, getting more and more work through there. And then we slowly pivoted over to more marketing because I wanted to have more skin in the game for companies. You're giving them a whole nice video and they don't know what to do with it.
Right.
And then I just started to really dive into the marketing world. And now today we are we connect others to diverse communities with branded entertainment. We're doing events, social media, podcasting, strategic partnerships, strategy, brand, design, all types of stuff. And then now I'm a national speaker and talking to everybody about Change Your Circle, Change Your Life, which is my book. And we threw an epic conference last year at the Fiserv Forum, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little later, but that was Lead the Movement Business Conference. So I'm also the first African-American small business owner to rent out an arena.
Awesome.
And and we're just keep it moving, man. We work with a lot of influencers, talent, and a lot of amazing companies, nonprofits, just helping them amplify their brand.
Yeah,
That's
for
sweet.
sure.
That's
So
sweet.
there's a lot of common ground here because,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I run Breaking and Entering music website, but started off producing hip hop, and then eventually, kind of traded off and said, okay, I can go more into this side of thing. Went to college for like a lot of media stuff for shooting video, recording audio, all of that. At what point did you kind of lock in and say, like, because you went from being an artist to being kind of behind the scenes a little bit? At what point did you kind of lock in and make that transition and go, okay, I think I can really put together like a quality product that is a video or whatever it be, an audio recording, photos, things like that. When did that kind of come about?
Yeah, so that actually came kind of so I was learning a lot when I was touring and doing all the shows and stuff. And so I had my guy doing the video stuff. And so I was actually editing my own stuff as well. So I would do like a promo video for your press kit or your EPK. And I had to make sure like my stuff was tight. So I had to edit those videos, edit those photos. So I learned kind of already that I could do something like that. But then when I started to do for others, it's a little different. So I had to like really start learning and growing in that. So it was probably at least 1 or 2 years into my business that I started to really be like, okay, I got an eye for this. I got kind of a knack for this. Like I can really do this and be competitive.
Yeah, and I think that's really part of the independent music scene is having to do things out of necessity. Because it costs money to hire.
100%.
Yeah. It costs money to hire photographers. It costs money to hire videographers.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost as much to buy, Adobe Premiere or Final Cut or whatever. And you will figure it out on YouTube because you kind of have to. I mean, that's how I learned some social media stuff. You just got to play with it and figure it out for sure. With that though, once you started, you said as a different animal, once you started working with other people, was that first jump into like doing promo videos for like artists and things like that too? Or, working in music that way?
Yeah, I mean, of course, naturally, when I started my business, I went straight into the entertainment world, because that's what I knew. So I was doing like artist consulting, I was doing beat production, I was doing videos for artists, um, anything and everything, in the entertainment world. The problem is that there's not a lot of money.
Yes.
There's not a lot
Oh,
of
I am
money,
aware.
man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I am.
Like these people, they're grinding, man, and their budgets aren't very high, and I need to eat, so I was like, I gotta do something else, man. I need to pivot over to the corporate world where they got a little bit of money set aside.
Oh yeah, I'm totally aware. That is the artist budget is very little. Anything, any service that you want to do for a company, you got to like scale it down to like 25% for like an artist at best.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they want the world too.
Of
in
course,
video,
give me
so,
everything
like,
or give me nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, they have the littlest budget, but I want like 5 locations. I want like all this, cinematography. I need all these different people involved. I'm like, this is a lot of work, man, for like $150.
Right. Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
1000%.
So I'm curious. You mentioned it's been about a decade doing doing Foureva Media. And what was the moment like when you started it? Like, I know you were in IT and sort of grasping with what's next. Like, did you have a very clear like I need to do this, or was it a series of things that led to beginning that? Because that's a significant venture to undergo when you're kind of in this role. And what was some of the thoughts running through your head?
Yeah. So what really prompted me? So I did 3 things once when the layoff happened. So I started my business. I also started another business with a group of guys that were in IT that only lasted about like a month and a half because they just didn't have the business grit to do it. It was more of like a fun idea because I was like, oh, maybe we should do some IT consulting for companies because I had done IT for 8 years and then I started my business. But then also I was looking for jobs as well because I'm like, well, maybe I'll just find another job. What happened is that when I was growing up, my dad and my family, we moved around a lot because of layoffs. So, I went to 4 different high schools in 3 different states.
Whoa.
So, like, a lot of moving around. And so when I saw this happen to me, I was like, this is my first layoff, first time. And I'm like, what was I? 20, 28?
Yeah.
27, 28, 29, something like that, 28. But I was like, man, I don't want to go down this path, this trend of like being at the mercy of the corporate overlords. And it's like, doesn't matter what you put in there, you could be X'd at any moment. So I was just like, nah, I'm going to do something for myself. And so that's really was the motivation to do something on my own. Now, I didn't realize what it would be today, but I just knew I had something in me to create this.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about scaling up too, and growing your business as well. I'm assuming not a solo endeavor anymore. You've got employees as well. Yeah.
Not a solo endeavor. I know last year our peak we had 13 people working at the company. Yep.
For sure. Tell me about when you started reaching that point where you're like, clients are growing, budgets might be growing. When do you get to the point where like, I got to cut somebody else into this? I got to bring somebody else into the picture, and really get there and be like, okay, this is going to become an entity.
Yeah. So that was actually a lot sooner than you think. So I was actually doing my business it's probably about 3 years in, and I was just known as the guy with a camera. Like that's what I was known as, the guy that runs around with a camera.
Right.
And what changed for me is when I lost out on a big opportunity because I worked for it was a healthcare company that I went down to Chicago once a month and did and filmed their lunch and learn. And they actually shopped out a different gig to do a more bigger project, like a corporate video and like for recruitment and all this other stuff. And they shopped it out and hired some other company out of state. So I think they brought it in from Atlanta or Arizona. It was one of those. And they flew them in, got them all hotels and everything. Their budget was huge. And I asked them, I said, why didn't you ask me? Like, I'm here every month. Like,
Right.
Why do you ask me to do this? They said, oh, I I didn't think that you could handle like a job like that because you're just one guy. Like we thought that you're it. Like we need a team. We need a team of people. And that was the biggest wake up call. Because then from that moment on, I immediately went out and found a couple people to work with on a contract basis. But everywhere I started to post photos of me with a crew of people doing the videos. Even if I didn't need another person, I would bring somebody with me just to make it look bigger.
Yeah.
And so that was a big turning point. And then of course, when you start promoting that and putting on social and telling everybody, they're like, oh man, yeah, he can do that kind of work. And then the projects kind of slowly increase.
That's interesting.
Perception is everything. So very similar to that. Like if you see photographers sometimes that have cameras with like a billion different like flash bulbs and an accessory and whatever, like it might be like a little Canon Rebel that you can buy at like Target.
Yeah.
But if it's got a bunch of different things on it, for somebody that's a complete bystander, they don't know that. It looks very professional. I can tell you that from a very early, shoots that I used to do. I showed up with like a little handy cam, and that wasn't getting the job done. So, I mean,
that's
the more
that's not the one. Yeah.
The more you kind of build the accessories, but I mean, it's kind of this problem of like people need to take you seriously, and so you have to do whatever it is to make people think that you're legit. Like you said, you can do the work yourself, but like once you have people there, then all of a sudden that like the visual changes somebody's mind. Did you see like a turn? Once that started happening, once you started seeing, oh, you've got a crew with you, business changed.
Yeah. That's where the perception, and I learned that through music. But then once I applied it also to business, like perception is everything. Like even to this day, I have an assistant. Why do I have an assistant? Yeah, I'm extremely busy. I need all that organization. But to be honest, when I first got an assistant, it was perception.
Yeah.
I wanted people to recognize that my time was valuable. So they can't just mess with me, pop me over at different times of the schedule. Like, you got time with me, let's lock it in. It raises that intensity of the perception. So once I started doing that with video production, I definitely started to see an increase of like what opportunities were coming my way to be able to execute on those. And then I now have just kind of applied that method for everything that I do, because perception is everything. That's why on social, I mean, that's why I'm pumping all this stuff so much.
Totally.
It's not to boast. It's to show people what you're capable of, and for people to come correct. Because if you come sloppy, you come to somebody real sloppy, it's like, all right, they'll swing you around and do whatever with you. But if you meet somebody, you're like, dude, I got 5 minutes with this guy, you will make sure that
get
time
to the point.
Valuable.
And I love your point of, because I do this similarly, in terms of social media and putting out what I'm doing. Like I used to just kind of like, go to a school or go to a conference and just do my thing. And now I'm very specific about which pictures I take and what they look like. And so when I'm done, it's like that event was awesome. And like, this is what I can do. I had a blast. Like, now who wants to come? And it makes a difference, and whether it's on Twitter or on LinkedIn, like obviously two very different crowds, but I've found that works, and people connect with that, and they're like, well, that looks like a blast. Like, I want to have that here. And half the time it's like, they don't even know what they want. They just want whatever that was. So like, you take whatever you just did there, just bring it here. And I'm sure that'll work fine.
Also, I feel like we should say, perception is everything too, but it's not to say that there isn't a lack of, quality behind that sort of thing as well. Like, you're still turning out a quality
people just don't
product.
see that. They see the end result of like the picture that comes along with it.
I just don't want anybody to get the wrong idea that all three of us are here with our side businesses.
Don't work hard, guys. Just put up really good pictures.
Right, exactly. I want to clarify that as well.
We're good. That's perfect. I love it. I think it's such a good approach, and you do a really good job at it. Like, I mean, that's how you and I connected. I know we have a couple people in common, but I was like, this is great. Like, and again, I mean, it's also true, like the what you put out there. So I think it's awesome. And so I'm curious, doing this work with your company and really kind of getting into speaking and what that's been like and seminars. I mean, the amazing thing that you put out for the Fiserv last year. Can you talk about that a little bit? And obviously you and I have this in common, but when did that become a reality? Have you always wanted to do that? And how did you shift into it?
Yeah, great question. So the speaking, so we actually work with a lot of speakers, and I've been doing it for now 7 7+ years now working with speakers.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned so much. So before I even like was thinking about speaking for myself, I had worked with so many speakers. I've heard everything. We work with speaker bureaus. We work with all types of talent. I've seen what works, what doesn't work. We work with coaches, book coaches. I mean, I've heard all the angles of different things within the speaking world.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time it was kind of came to be my time, once I wrote my book, I'm like, well, I guess I got to speak now.
One follows the other. Yeah.
I got to promote this stuff now.
That's great.
So I guess I'm a speaker, So that's kind of what happened with it, and it's very a natural transition for me from music to speaking because the stage don't scare me.
Right.
Totally.
I can already perform. I know how to do that, but now I got really good at the speaking because of all the knowledge I was able to soak in from all the speakers I've worked with or became friends with and kind of grew with as even through my company.
Yeah.
And so I just knew exactly what to do, how to approach it, how the presentation needed to be. And I was also fortunate enough. So since we also did the Fiserv Forum, like one of my, very couple, first few speaking gigs was literally in an arena.
Yeah,
so like
awesome.
I have this very kind of competitive advantage to be able to show me like the arena footage and photos. But I did some other virtual stuff before, and then like little in-person stuff. But now I'm doing, full keynotes and in front of great crowds.
That's awesome. And it is funny, like being from the speaking world, you really kind of take away bits and pieces of what to do and what not to do. The gentleman that I got mentored from, his name's Arik Jackson. He's an international speaker, amazing guy. You actually remind me of him. You guys are very similar. And he mentored me for 8 months. And like, I found myself like, because I respect him so much and I just admire what he does. Like I would take bits and pieces of sort of his vibe, but then like I had to Jiminize it. Like I'm not Arik, and I will never be him. And he does his thing. And so I remember the first talk I gave, I was too much him. And I was like, that was me emulating him almost to a weird degree where it didn't feel authentic. And my whole talk is about being authentic. And I'm like, hold up, like something's gotta change.
Right.
And he was kind of the one that gave me that feedback. He was like, I like love what you're doing, but like you got to be more you. And then I took that away. And like, I still certainly have like parts of what he does, and he's really kind of influenced me in that sense. But you find your own groove and you find your rhythm.
That was also him protecting his lane.
That's right.
And saying like, "Yo,
like, don't steal my
GTFO,
stuff,
dude."
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It was so funny because I look back at some of those talks and I'm like, that was totally something Arik would have said. But like, sure, it worked. But now I'm like, I do my thing, and it's very much influenced by that. I can imagine you had similar experiences working with speakers, like
for sure.
across the spectrum.
I was trying to. Especially good speakers, I'm like, I got to do it like that. And but I had some of the best advice from a good friend of mine, Justin Patton. He also came out to the Fiserv Forum and did the Lead the Movement. He was our closing keynote. I've known him for years. We've worked with him for years. And he's an executive leadership coach and international speaker. And he told me, like, because I was like, man, like, what advice do you have for me now as a speaker? Like, what should I be doing? He's like, dude, I don't want you to lose you, just be you. Everything else is going to follow. Cause he's like, people really love your energy. So he's like, play on that, on that energy, play on who you are. Don't try to mimic. And of course, yes, you can work on your posture. You can work on your delivery. You can work on your stage presence, how you use the stage, how you interact with others. All that stuff can be, figured out. Just be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else, because then the crowd knows too.
Oh yeah, they catch on.
They know.
Yeah,
they'll be
it's
like,
so
something's
true.
off with that guy.
And right away, I mean, you could, and I speak to high school and college. That's kind of my bread and butter. And I mean, if you're not being real, within 2 minutes they're like, nope, like I'm out. So like if you connect, and that's great advice. Like it sounds so simplistic, but it's so powerful when people can sort of get rid of these reservations of like, they're not going to like me, but like, you're here for a reason, so go do your thing and like have fun. The more fun you're having, the more fun they're having, and that's what it always comes down to.
100%.
Yeah, that's great.
Let's talk about scaling things up to the point of the Fiserv Forum event.
Yes.
And doing keynotes in arenas and things like that. That's a very ambitious thing to do, no matter what. I mean, to go from, shooting music videos or shooting whatever promo videos to get to that point. One, was there any doubt when you got to that point of being able to
God,
do
of
an
course.
event.
I doubted the day that we had the event.
Absolutely.
I had doubt up to the moment that we said, all right, welcome to the Lead the Movement Business Conference.
Yeah. And how did you push through that sort of thing when you have those moments where you're like, I'm really renting an arena? Like I do always say this thing that, you know, I think anybody that has an entrepreneurial spirit, there's just a little bit of crazy in there.
No, there has to be.
You know what I mean? Like there's a little bit of
you gotta
like,
be a maniac a little bit. Yeah.
right. Like I mean, that whole theory of like,
Yeah.
I could just work a job.
Yeah, I could like not do this.
Right.
Like it doesn't have to happen. Yeah, right?
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so how do you push through those moments where you're like, I really rented an arena? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you handle that?
It's an absolute surreal moment. I had doubts the entire way through. In the very beginning, I didn't. So I have this ability and just this characteristic about myself that once I get onto an idea, it's hard for me to let go. Like I am very determined once the idea has hit, and I'm like, we're doing that. We're doing that. It is hard to pull me off, and that's just something I have grown up with from when I was very little till now. It's everything in my life. If I'm in, I'm all the way in. If I'm kind of wishy-washy on it, you can tell. You can tell because I'm just kind of like, I'm not putting that much effort into it. But when I'm on, there's nothing that can stop me. Literally nothing. And the conference was proof that if I think of something, it's also very dangerous. So I learned a lot of other things about myself during this conference because I can think of something and do it, but also there's a risk reward,
Right.
you know? So how far I extended myself so far for that conference to happen that also my current business actually took a big hit because we weren't focused on new clients.
Yeah.
We weren't focused. We had current clients, but we weren't focused on the new ones because the conference was everything. So we took like this, it was about 5-6 months of just all conference. And so after the conference, I'm like, and even up towards it, a little bit leaning up towards, I'm like, oh my God, like the revenue had dipped. So the problem was my focus got, my attention was over on this thing and not on the business.
Right.
And that's a whole nother conversation. But the self-doubt, you have to know how to punch through, and you have to have a very strong why of why you're doing it.
Totally.
That is what punches you through. There's nights that there were tears. There was nights that I was like, man, are we really going to do this? Because also in Milwaukee, there's this thing that if you're doing something so innovative, Milwaukee is not quick to latch on to something that innovative.
Right.
I will
definitely agree with you there.
Yeah.
This is a problem. My new kind of narrative, the thing that I'm pushing is I want to change the narrative in Milwaukee that we don't breed innovation. So if something is super innovative here, there's a ton of innovation happening, but that's why it kind of bubbles and then it stops because you don't get the full support financially. You don't get it from resources, from people just sharing word of mouth, and also collaboration. So there's a lack of those things, which when I'm doing something at an arena, you think that place would be packed. And we had about 400 people total. I thought there was going to be 2,000, 3,000 people there.
Right.
And I thought the sponsors were going to be bigger, even though we had good sponsors, but I thought we were going to even get more money, coming in from that.
Yeah.
And I just thought the whole thing was going to be a massive success because I'm like, who's not going to come to the arena?
Right.
But, a lot of that needed to, but people need to say, in Milwaukee, we're a very like show me first, show me what's going on first, and then I'll hop on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the self-doubt really built up as I was going through the event and until the final day, and then after I was done, I was like, oh my God. I mean, it's just my mind was just blown the whole time. I did film an entire documentary of the experience, which we are going to release.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a platform to release it on. So either like Apple TV, Roku, Revolt. We're trying to work with some media people to see on what we want to do with it. But I got all the emotions on it.
I love it. I love it. And I love the why. Because I think about that a lot. Like when you're going through any doubt or just going through, I mean, I think about this during COVID when, my business essentially crumbled. It was like, why am I doing this? And I can imagine you and I have fairly similar answers. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my vocation. It's what I'm supposed to do, and that's, I'm supposed to speak, and I'm supposed to impact lives. And that's what I'm here for. And so like, I always go back to that. And it really, like, COVID frankly helped in that. It was very much like, do I still really want to like give out free stuff, like do these virtual keynotes? And it's like, why is because this is it, and I love it, and I love every minute of it, even when it doesn't go well, like, and you learn stuff from it. But that why is what should carry people through any sort of that doubt is like, go back to it, like write it down and have that of like, this is it, and this is the why. And so I love it, and I think about it all the time.
No, I feel that.
Yeah.
That's 100%. I mean, this is, I want to be. So let me just tell you a quick story on that. Actually, to touch on that. So at the end of the conference, a 19-year-old kid comes up to me, and he's like in tears, and he's like, I had never seen a guy that looks like me do something like this. In this city. Yeah, and he was in tears. He's like, bro, like now I'm seeing like what's possible, what I could be, and I'm like, that's why.
That's it. That's the why. Yeah.
That's it.
That'll keep you for the next year. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that moment.
I mean, you can't put a price tag on it. I mean, like that's, you've affected someone to the point that they emote is pretty amazing. And I mean, similar, experiences in terms of just connecting with students. It's like, I can't, like, that's it. Like that's what I'm, if it's one person, game on.
Well, if it's anybody for the next, it doesn't even have to be speaking. It can be just running a business. It can be, being behind the camera, as so many people want to be in front of the camera, kind of thing. Like, as soon as you see somebody that is doing the thing you do, especially somebody that looks like you, that is you're like, it clicks in your head, like that's possible. Essentially is what it is. You know what I mean? Like that is when you're like, wait a minute, I thought I had to only be, only this person could do this, or only
there was barriers to it, right? Like, I can't, why me, right? And it's like, well, this is it. This is exactly what I can do, and I love it. That's awesome.
Do you have any kind of like plans for to go further with the conference end of it, or just the business end of it? Because now I'm thinking like this is super inspirational for people. At least one person has definitely changed from it. Is there any plans to kind of go forward?
So many people were changed that day. We have so many great testimonials from it. So we're planning to do it again September 29th. Awesome. And we have a partnership with Summerfest Tech. So it's actually going to be on the Summerfest grounds.
Nice.
And it's going to be amazing. We got really good partners this time. Just got off the phone today with BMW, so they may be coming in on it. And I'm also a member of Forbes the Culture, so it's a group that really wants to amplify Black and Brown voices. And so there's 3,000 members in that group, all heavy hitters in there. So they're gonna have a partnership also with the conference. So it's gonna be good. We lowered the ticket price too, so it's gonna be $50 to go to it. Last time since I did the arena, I'm like, people can afford $300,
right.
And then people are like, yo, that thing's expensive, man. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot we're not in like, Chicago, New York, Vegas.
A little different this blue collar city, right?
It's like, dude, that's a lot. But yeah,
great.
We're planning to do it again. It's going to be epic. And we really refined everything. So I definitely want anybody listening, if it's before then, in 2023, definitely come through.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like persistence is a big core value for you, because you're pushing into, territory that, frankly, a lot of people don't think they can get to. You know what I mean? Like for you, like you're saying, like an arena is possible. Summerfest is possible. Festival grounds are possible. Like, is that what drives you, I guess, at the end of the day, to be like, I can get, I can knock down those doors. I can get to a BMW. I can get to a Summerfest or whoever. And because I think a lot of people stop the first time they hear a no. I don't think you're the first, I don't think you stop on a first no.
Dude, I feel like the best example, I keep going back to when I was doing music, but I'm battle tested, man. I've heard 1,000 no's. 1,000 no's. I mean, literally every day I would make like 100 phone calls just to book those shows. And I would hear no after no after no, gatekeeper after gatekeeper. But also what prepared me and to know I could shoot for the stars is that I also got glimpses of, I saw other artists bigger than me having extreme success, and I was in those rooms. So I'm now learning from these people, and I know that these people are accessible. I know that these companies are accessible. You just need to know how to get, have the right approach that's creative enough so that way you add value to what they're doing. And so now there's nobody that's within my reach, man. I could talk to the president if I want to. If I really put my mind to it, man, like I could have a sit down with the president. I don't know about this current one, but I think that the sky's the limit, man. I mean, that's really, and you just have to know that after all the no's, you wait for the one yes. And that one yes will punch you right through, and it could change your life.
I feel like we just put it in his head that he could talk to the president.
Hell yeah.
Right now he's going to do it.
Do it. I will say there's two commonalities that I found in people in my life who are really successful is confidence and self-love. And because they can exude that to everyone they meet. And I feel like you have that. Like you're very confident in what you do and you love what you've become. And that's important. And it sounds borderline boastful to say it that way, but it's a sense that you have to have that before you can pour it on other people. And I think that you really have that, and that's why you're able to give that energy to everyone around you, which is just terrific.
Yeah, what I talk on is that and I just gotta say this because you literally just it's crazy that you just said that. it's so my whole talk is on part of it is unlocking your self-awareness. And two of the ingredients out of the self-awareness is self-love and confidence.
I love it. This is why we needed to meet, Jamar. This is
it's crazy. It's crazy that you even just said that. So the other two ingredients is fear and perspective. So if you can master those four, you unlock your self-awareness. When you unlock your self-awareness, you literally have the key to doing whatever you want. It's like you got the Thanos gauntlet and you're just, you're like, I could do whatever I want. I mean, it's true. Because once you discover yourself, man, you could open up so many doors.
Absolutely. 100%. I'm there for it.
Well, this is fantastic.
Yes.
Did you have a final question?
I was going to ask where you want to take things from here. What, kind of like some of the immediate goals for you? Because it sounds like sky is the limit, but what are kind of, some of your next stuff that you're looking at?
Yeah, that's another great question. For me, the conference, like I said, I learned so much about myself last year. And so my goal this year is more to focus on growing the business from a scalability standpoint. So really ironing down the processes, the procedures, the systematic approach, all the boring stuff, how to grow and, scale the team for success. Because honestly, once that is built and once I feel really, really good about that, I can then move so much faster than what I'm even doing today. And so for me, my goal that's next is to grow and scale the business, work with bigger clients within recruitment or community outreach, amplifying their brand, and really just leaving that positive imprint. And also, I really want to boost up the PR of the company. So that's why I'm really just getting into a lot more media opportunities. I'm doing some traveling because I really want to boost the brand, put some brand equity into what we're doing and showcase like, dude, this is what's going on. And yes, I'm from Milwaukee. Like it does go down over here.
I'm 1,000% behind it. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. If people want to find Foureva Media, where's the best place to go follow you guys at?
Yeah. So, I mean, on all platforms, you can hit us up, Foureva Media, Foureva Media. And then also the best way to connect with me, if you want to shoot me a message, is through LinkedIn. You can find my name, Jamar Jones, on there and shoot me a message and we would love to connect. Also, you can go to iamjamarjones.com and that has our podcast. It has all my speaking stuff on there and where you can find the book.
Awesome.
There we go. Very cool.
You want to connect with this podcast?
Yes. If you want to find us on this podcast, we're hustling sideways everywhere. So if this is your first time listening, hello, welcome. If it's your 54th time listening.
Also, hello, welcome back.
Yeah, exactly. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us. We are on Facebook. We're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and we are on TikTok as well. If you also want to be a guest on this podcast, send us an email over at hustlingsideways@gmail.com. Jamar, thank you so much for doing this.
Man. Yep.
And we will see you next time, Jim.
Keep on hustling.
See you next time.